Today, I'll introduce you to some of the most fascinating African wedding night traditions, and I'm sure you'll be surprised by a few. Get comfortable, and don't forget to subscribe to Eagle Discovery and like my content. Fact 1. Witnesses during the wedding night. One of the most intriguing aspects of marriage rituals in some African tribes is the involvement of external parties during the wedding night. This custom is far removed from what many might consider the typical Western view of a private moment between newlyweds. The role of witnesses, often elders from the bride's family, is not just ceremonial, but serves as an assurance that the marriage is legitimate and binding. These elders are there to oversee the union, provide guidance, and, in some cases, help the newlyweds navigate this important life transition. In certain West African tribes, it is customary for the presence of witnesses to extend well into the night, ensuring that the marriage rites are followed to the letter. These customs often go beyond just confirming the consummation of the marriage. They include offering advice and counseling, sometimes even stepping in to mediate if any issues arise. While this may seem intrusive to modern sensibilities, it reflects the communal nature of many African cultures, where marriage is not just a union of two individuals, but of families, communities, and sometimes entire villages. In other regions, rituals that may seem even more invasive by contemporary standards were once practiced. For instance, young women before their wedding night might undergo initiation rites that taught them how to behave with their husbands. These customs, while feeling uncomfortable from a modern perspective, were designed to ensure that the woman was prepared for her new role and that the marriage was socially recognized. The community's involvement in such intimate matters emphasized the collective nature of marriage, ensuring that the union was accepted and celebrated by all. Fact 2. Proving the groom's worth. The second fascinating aspect of traditional marriage customs is the groom's trial to prove his worthiness. In many cultures, it's not enough to simply ask for the bride's hand in marriage and gain the approval of her family. The groom must demonstrate his value through trials and tests that measure his strength, intelligence, and ability to provide for his new family. In some tribes, this might take the form of physical challenges, such as duels with members of the bride's family. These tests are not necessarily violent, but could also include tests of skill, such as hunting, or displays of intelligence and problem-solving abilities. For instance, a groom might be asked to prove his resourcefulness by negotiating with the bride's family, or performing certain tasks that show his readiness for the responsibilities of marriage. A fascinating aspect of this tradition is the way it ties into the concept of protection and strength. In several societies, grooms must demonstrate their ability to protect their bride, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. The test of strength may extend to various forms of physical combat, such as traditional stick fighting. In these contests, the groom's prowess in battle is seen as a reflection of his ability to protect his family. The respect he earns through his performance can cement his place in the bride's family, providing him with the approval needed to proceed with the marriage. In other regions, the groom might face more unusual trials. In some cases, he could be asked to demonstrate his culinary skills, cooking a special dish that shows his capability to manage the household. These tests, seemingly quirky, were practical ways to ensure the groom could fulfill his role as a husband, provider, and protector. Fact 3. Bride preparation rituals. As we continue exploring the fascinating marriage rituals across cultures, the preparations that brides undergo before their wedding night present a unique blend of tradition, symbolism, and rites of passage. In many cultures, the bride's readiness for marriage is not simply about attire or beauty, but is a spiritual and physical transformation, preparing her for her new role in both family and society. One striking example comes from certain tribes, where the bride's skin is treated not with soap and water, but with a mixture of animal fat and ground ochre. This ritualistic application has multiple layers of meaning. First and foremost, it protects the skin from the harsh effects of the sun, but it also symbolizes the bride's transition from childhood into adulthood, marking her readiness to assume the role of a wife. The reddish hue it imparts is seen not just as a beauty treatment, but as a marker of her maturity, signaling to the community that she is now capable of entering into the sacred union of marriage. The act of preparing the bride physically goes beyond skincare, extending to the way she adorns herself. In some cultures, a woman's headdress plays a central role in her transformation. Married women may wear a distinctive leather headdress that they never remove, even while sleeping. This headdress acts as both a protective talisman against evil spirits and a public declaration that she is married. This ritual shows how marriage is seen not only as a personal commitment, but also as an outward expression of social status, protection, and spiritual well-being. In other traditions, the head is covered with intricately designed cloths or beadwork, or even crowns fashioned from hair and clay. These symbols are believed to shield the woman from the evil eye, which in many societies is thought to bring misfortune or harm. These practices speak to the deep intertwining of cultural beliefs with the marriage ritual, where the bride's preparation is not just physical, but spiritual as well, reinforcing her place within the community. Fact 4. Mentorship from female relatives. In many tribal communities, the bride is not alone in preparing for her wedding night. Female relatives such as mothers, aunts, or grandmothers take on the role of mentors, offering guidance to help the bride navigate both the emotional and practical aspects of marriage. This mentorship is a sacred tradition, where older women pass down knowledge about the responsibilities of marriage, from managing the home to fulfilling intimate expectations. The mentorship is more than just advice. It's a formal, cultural ritual that connects the bride to generations of women. Through this wisdom, she learns the importance of family life and societal roles, ensuring she's equipped for her new role. In some cultures, the mentorship is formalized through an initiation ceremony, helping the bride adjust socially and emotionally to her new life. These practices highlight marriage as not just a personal bond, but a social, familial, and spiritual contract. The mentorship surrounding the bride ensures that marriage is a transformative, respected process, reinforcing her place within the family and community. While these traditions might seem unfamiliar, they reveal how marriage has long been intertwined with societal roles and communal wisdom, preparing individuals for their responsibilities in the broader social fabric. Fact 5. Proving virginity. In many African tribes, the concept of proving a bride's virginity extends beyond a personal matter. It's a public affair embedded with social and cultural expectations. Traditionally, it's not just about the bride and her family. It involves the larger community and often signifies the bride's adherence to societal norms. This act of virginity verification can take various forms. The most common method includes presenting a blood-stained sheet or another symbol to validate the bride's purity after the wedding night. This ritual is believed to symbolize the bride's transition from girlhood to womanhood, marking her readiness for marriage and the responsibilities it entails. Moreover, the practice sometimes goes even further with the involvement of a designated woman or elder. She is tasked with checking the bride's virginity before and after the wedding night, serving as an official witness to confirm that the bride has conformed to the expectations of the marriage. These traditions have been passed down for generations and often remain a vital part of the wedding ceremony in certain communities. However, the significance and frequency of such practices have been diminishing in modern times. Urbanization, greater emphasis on women's rights, and shifts in societal values are gradually diminishing the dominance of these practices. In cities, the push for individual freedom and gender equality has led to a growing number of people rejecting the notion of virginity as a symbol of worth. Yet, in rural areas, these customs continue to thrive as family honor remains a cornerstone of cultural identity. The interplay between modernization and tradition in these contexts paints a vivid picture of how culture evolves but retains certain deeply rooted values. Fact 6. A public celebration in certain countries. In several cultures, the wedding night is far from a private event. It is a community-wide celebration marked by joy, music, and an open display of union. Far from a quiet evening for the couple, these weddings are vibrant, communal affairs. The wedding procession, often a grand parade, moves from the ceremony venue to the couple's new home, accompanied by loud music, dancing, and cheering. This public display of joy signifies not only the union of two individuals, but also the merging of families and communities. The tradition of making the wedding night a public event varies greatly depending on the region. In certain cultures, the new couple's journey to their first home becomes a festive occasion. The groom's and bride's families, along with many other guests, walk or travel alongside them, celebrating and cheering them on as they begin their new life together. In this context, marriage is seen as more than just a union of two people. It is a social event that solidifies relationships within an extended network of family and community members. Such public celebrations stand in stark contrast to practices common in many Western cultures, where the wedding night is often viewed as an intimate, private experience, shared solely between the couple. However, for those living in cultures with this tradition, the distinction is clear. Marriage is not just a personal affair, it is a communal event that binds the families and communities together. This shared experience enhances the social fabric, offering a sense of unity and collective joy. Fact 7. Rituals before the wedding night. In certain African cultures, pre-wedding rituals are not only seen as ceremonial, but as integral steps toward the bride's transition into married life. These rituals are rich in symbolism and are intended to prepare the bride both physically and spiritually for the significant life changes ahead. For example, in some tribes, brides undergo a full shaving process before the wedding, symbolizing the shedding of their former life. This act of shaving is much more than a cosmetic procedure. It represents a new beginning, marking the bride's departure from girlhood and her entry into adulthood and womanhood, ready to take on the responsibilities of marriage. The symbolism doesn't end with the shaving. In some areas, the bride's body is treated with special oils, perfumes, and other fragrances. These preparations are seen as a way to purify the bride and make her physically and spiritually ready for the wedding night, which is often viewed as a sacred moment in her transition. These rituals are deeply embedded in tradition and passed down through generations, reinforcing the connection between the bride and the history of her ancestors. For many, these practices go beyond aesthetic preparation. They represent an embodiment of cultural values and the importance of maintaining customs that bind individuals to their communities. Fact 8. The high stakes of the wedding night. In some cultures, the wedding night is not only an important step in the couple's life, but also a significant trial, particularly for the bride. The traditional expectation of proving a bride's virginity is still upheld in some societies, and the consequences of failing to meet these expectations can be severe. In certain communities, if it is discovered that the bride is not a virgin after the wedding night, the repercussions can be extreme. The groom's family might reject the marriage, and the bride could face severe social ostracism, public shaming, or even exile. This high-stakes ritual places enormous pressure on the bride, as her virginity is seen as a marker of her purity and worth. While such customs are beginning to fade, particularly in urban settings where love-based marriages and individual freedom are becoming more prevalent, they continue to thrive in rural areas. In villages and smaller communities, marriage is often viewed as a communal affair, and the bride's role in maintaining family honor is still highly valued. These practices offer a window into the complexities of cultural evolution, where the balance between tradition and modernization is continuously negotiated. African wedding night traditions are a mix of ancient rituals and social customs that reflect the importance of family and marriage. While globalization has lessened their significance, they remain deeply rooted in small communities. How might they evolve in today's modern world?